All right, let's do it live on a Thursday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. Folks, on this program, you have got to pay attention to the scores.
That's right. That's right. And the mic's on. Who knew? Flying blind, but there it is. We are on. I said yesterday. I said, who knew? Not me.
Flying blind.
I said yesterday, we need to add a defensive tackle.
Well, we've mentioned him by
Shelby
name.
Harris, well, he came in for a visit. We said, and it was asked, that is not dead. That is still very much alive. And that was the one position I felt like we needed to do something. I think that when it comes to the running back position, there are veteran options that will be available to you at any moment. There will also be guys that get cut down that the Browns will certainly pay attention to. Michael Carter, the Jets, a name that I had mentioned. You know, it was talked about Dalvin signed there. But we needed to get a defensive tackle. You go out and you get Shelby Harris in his 10th NFL season. He was actually drafted by the Raiders in 2014. They were still in Oakland at the time. Jason Tarver was the DC on that staff. So he knew him. He was injured as a young player, but a career 98 games, 64 starts with Oakland, Denver, Seattle, 261 tackles, 24.5 sacks, 40 tackles for loss. Last year was a part of that Seattle team that made the run to the playoffs. 15 starts, 44 tackles, 2 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. At Pro Football Focus, he was the number 14 defensive tackle, number 5 against the run. And yet, here's the thing for you. It's an odd year, 2023, odd year. In the last 3 odd-numbered seasons, 6 sacks, 5.5 sacks, 6 sacks. Doesn't do that in even years, but we got him in an odd year on a 1-year deal. Bo.
After Miles, what was the sack total of the second highest-rated sacks on our team a year ago?
3.
I should have phrased that better. Small B.
3. Defensive tackle, Taven Bryan. Third, 2.5 sacks. Off-ball linebacker acquired in the middle of the season.
That's right.
Deion Jones. Fourth, 2 sacks. Off-ball linebacker who played 7 games, Jacob Phillips. Also 2, Jordan Elliott. Also 2, Jadeveon Clowney. By the way, add up 2, 2.5, and 3, you get 11.5, still 4.5 shy of Myles Garrett. Now, if you were to add together the sacks of the newly acquired Zadarius Smith, 10, newly acquired Obo Okoronkwo, 5, and then this man, Shelby Harris, you've just added 17 sacks, exceeding the number of Myles Garrett last year.
I was thinking, boy, what an answer. You're shot out of a cannon. I like your energy today.
Came right
You're
out
fired
of the gym.
up.
I was in there with the
Little
Hop.
pump. Oh, the Hop's in the building.
Yeah, Hop's in the building.
Hop's
just
in the building.
I said a PR for me on incline dumbbells, 90s.
Okay.
Which I was pretty juiced about. Hoff, meanwhile, throws around hundreds, and that's the highest that it went in our weight room. And he's like, I maybe need more weight than this. He throws around hundreds like they're air. I'm like, cool.
He's Hoff. What do you want?
Yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast.
What do you do with that guy?
But no, I feel great.
All right, so let's go.
Up.
Let's just think about this from big picture perspective. You're going to go across the front to start. Zadarius, Shelby, Uno is unbelievable. That's just great. It's just Uno. Yeah, Uno, water, agua.
Yeah.
Agua.
Grab it.
Agua. Good job. Good job. Excellent work.
Perfect.
Excellent work.
God, he's good. He's good. Yeah, on the coaches show, I gave a shout out to the assistant to the executive producer, Uno.
They love it. That's great. They're big fans of you.
Come on, dude. Uno's stock's
great.
on the rise. Gibbe's been trying to keep him down lately.
There was a little bit of a dip Monday. There was a dip.
Yeah.
Some rundown issues.
But then Gibbe's been trying to keep
real.
him down, so it makes me like him.
That you want to juice
Pump
him up
more. Yeah. Exactly.
This is a ridiculous defensive line.
Yes.
Zadarius Smith, Shelby
Yes.
Harris, Dalvin Tomlinson, Myles Garrett to start, Obo, and a rotation that includes some guys that you like a lot. But this is a, there's the movie The Town?
I do.
John Hamm has a line in it when they understands like the operation he's dealing with. He calls it the no blanking around crew. That's what this is. This is the NFC. So this is the no blanking around crew.
That's the opposite of Jimmy Jam.
This is the opposite of Jimmy Jam.
And his gang.
And his operation. No. This is serious business.
Well, I feel like this, based on history, I like the opposite of the production of the Jimmy Jam.
Yeah,
so maybe we're destined for greatness.
Yeah,
who's to say?
Can you imagine you go from Horseman to Jimmy Jam?
Oh, man.
Like that happened in
Quick.
a year. That happened so quickly.
Quick.
I also think just from people we talked about we had talked about the Chris Rose yesterday. There is a sense of urgency, of nowness from the very top of this organization through the football operation that is you want to use pressure, fine, but it should be. I mean, they're bringing it on. They're bringing it on. They understand the moment is now.
Yep.
These moves that have been made. I mean, this is a completely remade defensive front.
Completely. And I didn't even mention Dalvin Tomlinson and his 2.5 sacks. It's a completely remade defensive front. And I think this move with Shelby Harris changes some of the calculations. And Gibbe, or maybe actually it was Uno, this is a very insightful question, so I'm going to think it came out of the brain of Uno. What does this mean for the defensive line room? Great question. I think now you could go into the season with 9 on the defensive line, which frees up a spot for a special teams linebacker. It frees up a spot for Jakeem Grant as a pure returner if you wanted to. Frees up a spot, obviously, for another offensive lineman. But I think that you're looking at that now because I think you're locked in now to 4, and you're going to have Dalvin, Jordan Elliott, Siaki Ika, Shelby Harris. I think that Maurice Hurst, Tommy Togiai, and Togiai had a nice game. I got to give him credit in the Hall of Fame game. And Tristan Hill, I think they feel like they'll be able to keep at a minimum 1 or 2 of those guys in the program on the practice squad. And so they'd probably be more willing to roll the dice there at that spot because now you've got 2 proven commodities. You have the guy that you drafted, and then Jordan Elliott now in his 4th year as a rotational piece makes a lot of sense. So I think that you could look at that, and then your ends would be Miles, Zadarius, Obo, McGuire. You probably keep Alex Wright and then put him onto IR after the cutdown because you got to carry him. If you IR him before the cutdown, that's season.
Yeah.
So I think that that's what you could be, or they could pup him, obviously. But I think that's what you're looking at there, which I think in our old roster calculations, that frees you up to, as
we were
I said,
at 10.
Specialist.
Weren't we 10?
Yeah.
So this allows for it. It's a real deal is what it is.
Holyfield.
He was something, man. How about that? Were you watching live when Tyson bit his ear?
I know exactly where I was.
So do I.
I was at the Golf Pro of SkyWest Golf Course in Hayward, California's home for the fight, and it was shock and awe.
It really was. It was shock and awe.
Like, did he just bite his ear off? Like, oh yeah, his ear's missing. It's gone.
Yeah.
Eaten, chewed.
Swallowed whole. It all happened. I was at Casey Kellogg's house. It was the first. His dad was out of town. It was the first that I can recall, like kegger, that a bunch of me and my buddies tried putting on together. Like we were going to get that operation rolling.
How old were we then?
Teens.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but we had gone to great.
I don't know if I was ready for.
We had great
Under
gone
the
to
yoke,
great lengths.
I was not at kegger stage
yeah,
by the time that fight happened.
If memory serves, it was in the summer.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was in the summer.
I was at Kenny Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get the date on that. I maybe I incriminated myself a little bit too much.
I was gonna say, like, I'm feeling like we were. I'd like to be wrong, but I feel like we were 16-ish. So I'm thinking 2000 or 90.
No. It's 97.
97. Okay, so we were 18.
Yeah. Well, I was 19.
You were 19.
I was. Yeah. So I was in college. Yeah.
Close enough.
Close enough. Yeah. So
in Montana, I feel like that's.
Yeah, you're out in the wild frontier.
Montana, yeah, you're like,
it's,
that's like 5 years after the limit. Yeah.
One sheriff officer for a county. Like nobody's
worried. Yeah, nobody's worried about.
Take them to the train station. Nothing to see here. So yeah, that's where I wasn't at. But this ought to make you. Every box is checked.
Every box.
There is still that running back situation that is going to probably have to have some answer to it. In fact, I think that'll be interesting tomorrow. Just where that goes, but I mean, I'm curious about that.
Likely, not confirmed, but I think it is somewhat likely that we will not see Nick Chubb. We certainly don't feel like we need to see him. Don't need to see him. I know what that operation's about. 1,525 yards last year, career high, no big deal. You're not going to see Jerome Ford.
No.
So you want an opportunity to make your case? John Kelly, Demetric Felton, Hassan Hall. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get a ton of work again. They're going to have every opportunity to make an impression on this coaching staff. And if they're able to do so, then you have a chance to be in the business. And Kelly in the first one, 69 total yards and a touchdown receiving. Belton led the team with 46 rushing, 6.6 yards a carry. He added a touchdown of his own, 55 total yards. They both look good. I thought Demetric looked very explosive again. And so that's this is their opportunity to say you don't need to go anywhere else for a third running back. We're the third running back. And I think it's an opportunity to show, that for Demetric, we know he can catch it, that he can tote the rock in a manner in which he ever needed to be the Dearness Johnson, that he can be that guy.
Yeah, it's tough with John Kelly because he's like preseason MVP.
He's a stud every year.
Yeah. Just completely a stud. And some part of me wonders as I was watching him in the Hall of Fame game, thinking what would stop him from being effective in the games? Like he's not Nick, obviously nobody is, but couldn't he also be effective in the game?
Feels like it.
It feels like it. He's always runs.
They've
kept him around
for 3 years.
Yeah. So, so that will be something to watch for tomorrow night. And from a roster spot perspective, that will be something to watch for in the coming days and weeks, is if they decide to add to that room. I did see, not suggesting this isn't scores, but I did see that Kareem did leave Indy. No contract there. Remember, he was going down to New Orleans, had one allegedly, or was ready to go sign in New Orleans, and all of a sudden Indy calls and is like, hey, come here, we'll offer you more.
But then
he goes there and he didn't. I just didn't understand the objective there.
The question to me then becomes, what kind of condition is he in?
Yeah, could be.
If they were saying we're offering you more right now and he goes there and nothing happens, then you wonder, okay, was there a reason for that? I hope not. I think New Orleans is actually a nice fit for him, especially with this Kamara suspension. He could run back kind of the Mark Ingram-Kamara duo that they've had there. They're not opposed to it, as we know, so that would be interesting to me.
Very, very, very interesting. Did you watch Hard Knocks last night? Did you get it in?
I have not watched it. No. But I people keep telling me how good it is, and I very much want to.
I don't want to overstate it. I don't think that it's so good. I just think that I think it's about as good as you could ever expect something like that to be. You're with the right people.
The stars.
You're with the right people.
Yep.
So that is an absolute, and then it's just a matter of. I think the thing is we are so overexposed with all of this stuff. Like I was thinking about this even with the quarterback series. I rewatched the first episode with NBC last night after his football practice. It's very, very good.
It's good.
But it also, I would say for me at least, I'm curious how you feel about this. All of those guys are exactly the way that I perceive them to be. I think Cousin perceived them to be previously. Like there's nothing surprise. Mahomes behaves exactly the way that I thought Mahomes would behave before I had this access to him.
More of a trash talker than I thought.
Oh, I think anytime he does that thing where he has his chest always you can tell he's
awesome. Have you gotten to the parts where he does he's working out with his own private guy during the week? Some stuff his commitment is
right, but personality. I guess I'm just speaking personality wise.
Kirk Cousins is right on.
Yeah,
Mariota's
right.
They could have done without Mariota. I don't know.
I could have told you that from spending a week covering him at the national championship game in 2014.
Right.
Is there more to Marcus Mariota? No, there's less.
Yeah.
And it's not. He just whatever that part is, that it part, the charisma part.
Yeah.
It's a tough battle for him.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about we have so much access to these guys via their social media, via individual teams,
100%.
that there isn't really anything. It's almost like we are at a used to be well, I didn't know that about them. We're at a no overload.
And we know it all.
It's so much that it's hard, I think, to do, anything like this and it to be something. I think that's why when you think of the 30 for 30s, whether it's Once Brothers or Pony Excess or the two Escobars, those 30 for 30s, what made them so special is you hadn't the best that never was is that you didn't know those stories. You had
to that detail.
No way. Sure. I remember, the breakup of Yugoslavia. I remember all of that. I remember the war, all of it. But I didn't remember the specific details of it.
Of course.
In that manner. And so then, I remembered once I started two Escobars, I remembered what had happened with that.
That's the own goal guy, right?
In the World Cup. And then, but that was something that the problem I think with sports documentaries now is we just have all the information.
Number one, we have the information. Number two, the majority of them are funded and produced by the subject. So hence they are not actually documentaries. They're my version of my story.
Yep.
Which
so that's Jordan.
To
The Last Dance. I mean, that was his 100%. Version of it. Yeah.
Yes. All right. I got one thing that I learned about Patrick Mahomes in there that I did not know before. Okay. When you, at your house, you put in your sport court, what's at the end of those sport courts?
What do you mean? Hoops?
Well, yeah, what do you call that? What do you call those?
A hoop?
A basketball hoop.
Yeah.
He calls it a goal. So he's walking through his gym. He's like, we got a goal here. We got to go put the goal up right here.
A goal?
Every time he calls it a basketball goal. It wasn't like one time and I thought he slipped. Every single time he refers to a basketball hoop, he calls it a goal.
I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard anyone refer to a basketball hoop as a goal.
It's wild.
That is.
So I watched it and I was like, I went back and I was like, because he builds a gym, which is crazy. The other part is crazy. He builds this, you'll see at the end, this insane house as well. He shit's got.
Yeah, I saw the images of it.
Golf hole.
Yeah.
It's got a football field with his logo on, so he can run routes. People come run routes with him there.
Yeah.
And then he builds a gym, a basketball gym with goals, and I think it's got like 2 on the side and 2 the long way, but it's still not a full court. It's not full width.
He went short change on the court.
There's some S to it. There's some
court. S choicing there. That was the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah.
I don't want to bury the guy again, but geez.
No, it's great.
That was, yeah. So that's crazy. I mean,
it's a basketball goal. He's like,
all right, so he's got a basket.
I'm so pumped. We got a goal here. I'm like, what?
So he's got 6 goals in the gym, but
There's
he does
4 at a minimum, maybe 6. It may be 2, 2, 1, 1. But it's the width of the main court.
So the main court going this way, you don't have like corner threes.
No, that's not a part of the program. And
so
then
that's
he has
weird
speakers that hang down that if you did have corner threes would be for sure in the way of those corner threes.
He was worried about square footage.
I don't
like
know.
That's built that house. Like, why don't you just?
That's why I don't
get the proper width on that thing.
That's what I didn't get. He's got a golf hole.
Yeah,
land not an issue.
I also thought, considering the amount of money that has been made, like it was so on brand of Cousins' whole operation, like how modest the house is for a guy who's made $100 million. Like it's a really nice house, but it's not like it's no mansion or palace or anything like that. It's
he has to like go into like a secret room. He has like a secret room for all his memorabilia.
Yeah, right. And even like his closets and stuff, like it was very modest. Like it was, but that's, I think, probably very. In fact, my son NBC said that to me. He goes, "Are you surprised that he doesn't have?"
Hold on, I'll give you one better.
Yeah.
Here's something I learned that was absolutely stupefying to me about Kirk Cousins. The playoff game. He comes home with his wife and his son, and he goes, and the other son is at home with, I don't know if it was with a nanny or with a relative, and it's like, it was, I guess, the other son's turn to go to a game, and he gave up his spot so that his other brother could go? Okay, right. So why isn't everybody going to every game? He doesn't get a suite. His wife and 1 kid, so he must get 2 tickets a game, and his wife and 1 child go to the games. Watch it. It's crazy.
So why?
So he comes home. He's like, "You gave your spot up so that, whatever the other kid's name is could go." He's like, "That's so nice of you, buddy." Like, wow.
As opposed, just get them all. Like, wouldn't you get all the tickets?
You're Kirk Cousins,
for God's sakes.
The playoff game was in Minnesota.
It's a home game, man.
Whereas Mahomes has a suite.
Of course, he has a suite. Yeah.
All of his family's in there. His dad's in there. Mahomes' dad's great. Mahomes' dad has some good trash talking, like that's my boy type stuff, which I ate.
He was late to the game on the fathership, right?
Yes.
Yeah, late to the game on that.
Yes.
Cousins' career earnings $230 million,
but not enough tickets for his whole family to go to his games. Watch it. It's an 8th episode. It's
all right.
Absolutely.
We'll get there.
You're like, I looked at Kayla. I said, "Wait a second. Am I seeing this wrong?"
Yeah. Is this Bizarro Land?
Incomprehensible to me. And they're sitting in the crowd.
I mean, but I guess it's on brand. I want to
gourmet.
You got to spend that money, brother. You can't take it with you.
Can't take it with you.
Got to spend that cash.
A lot of good things. He's obviously a very nice,
he's
very
role model.
Absolutely,
for sure. Yeah, but that is.
But let's
you
get
splurge a little
on
tickets.
You're playing in it. It's your playoff game.
I'm guessing you have a hookup.
And like when they finally won, I think to clinch the playoffs, he brings his son in the locker room and had this awesome moment. But then you're wait a second, you have 2 kids,
right?
They
both. Come on, boys. Let's go. Live a little. It is a Mailbag Thursday edition of the program.
That's what I learned through 8 episodes.
Well, so there you go. That's new. I enjoy it tremendously. I enjoyed Hard Knocks.
It's so good.
Johnny thing to a lesser extent, but the rest of it I think is very, very good. It's a Mailbag Thursday edition. Tweet your questions for us at Browns_daily. We'll get to your questions at 2:30. John Keim coming up in about 10 minutes from now. Do a little preseason preview coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Yep. Browns 50/50 raffle is now open. Go to the Browns mobile app or browns5050.com for purchases and more. Get your tickets before kickoff. Browns Commies August 11th. That's tomorrow, kids. You can take advantage of the Joe Thomas special. Get 400 tickets for only $73. Don't miss your chance to win big while supporting local youth. Hello, Gibbe.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Just a well-oiled machine.
Uno comes in here. There's no Z. Hoff was in there. There's something with boards that are being run off.
I don't know why he doesn't do this prior to 1
I don't know why
o'clock.
he's running off the
I'm
boards.
using his earwax in my ears.
That
It's
I can't
great.
wait for that exchange back. That's perfect.
Get it in there.
Get it in there really good.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the least he can do. He just
I don't
like we're doing a
understand.
show, he just leaves. Like the Hoff beckons, I understand you
Like,
run, but like
I-
we have others who can run things off, do we not?
I am literally in a meeting. I have one earbud in for our show and one earbud in for the meeting because no one knows what we do here.
It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
So, yeah, it's just great.
We do have a couple of look at this guy. Too late.
Yeah.
Too late.
Yep.
Too late. Sad. Hate to see it. We have 4 preseason games tonight, including the debut of C.J. Stroud with the Texans. That is happening tonight as well.
How long? Yeah.
You threw me on a gold jacket. Just said, "Hey, can you help?"
I
me out
understand,
with
but you have Stevie's.
You're on a show from 1 to 3. I just
Oh,
wanna get
my
all
gosh.
earwax in there.
this? Oh God.
Oh, my God.
Sanitize. Help.
It was an incredible win for Gibby. He's waited a long time for a win like that over you.
I know.
So Uno comes in here and he goes, he's running things off. We have others who can run things off. Why are you doing the copies?
Because I don't know if they know like how.
But it's
I don't even. He's a busy guy.
I'm
Got
not
him
saying the
copies,
Hoff
got
does
him
it.
out.
Let's get,
I know.
some others can give it a shot.
We need them back there on the boards. Uno, come on. We need Uno focused, locked in. I'm back.
4 preseason games tonight.
Oh baby.
C.J. Stroud debut. That'll be a fun one against the Patriots, then the Vikings and the Seahawks tonight as well. But so I'm curious about this from the standpoint of this is everybody else's first preseason game. So who plays?
I don't think you'll see a ton of starters. You will in certain cases. But remember, we wouldn't be playing the starters in this game normally if we didn't have the joint practices week 2. That is what is facilitating this. And that's kind of been our schedule because we played in Jacksonville and then we weren't going to play the next week. And then so I think it's going to be a mix around the league depending on joint practice schedules, which I'm certainly not privy to every team in the league's joint practice schedules, but I think that'll be a big deciding factor for it.
You'll also have, as I mentioned, the Vikings and the Seahawks.
Hope Kurt's family can be there.
Yeah, it'd be nice if maybe making Ford 4 tickets for the preseason games.
Which is why, I don't get it.
You want to know some? Have you seen these details on Mickelson? Have you seen this morning?
Excuse me?
All right.
No.
There's a new book by Billy Walters. This was
Okay.
from, I'm reading this from Front Office Sports, but the excerpt was in Golf Digest this morning.
Okay.
Phil Mickelson, according to the memoir, wagered $1 billion on sports in the last 3 decades. That's a B. $1 billion.
Sounds like he must be pretty decent at it.
He has lost.
Is that counting wagers on himself?
Oh, hold please.
Okay.
He has lost nearly $100 million gambling losses. Not bad if you're playing with $1 billion.
I was saying, not terrible. Down
Not terrible.
10%.
Yeah. Averaged 9 bets per day in 2011. Made 43 Major League Baseball bets in one day at one point. He actually tried to bet on a Ryder Cup he was playing in. That's a lot going on, Coach.
So
he was available today. They're at Bedminster playing the Live this week.
yes, they are.
And he was normally talks, and for the first time, Liv actually had a bunch of people there to interview because of this story, and they're like, we got to go hear from Phil. And
He did not.
He goes, I think I'm going to pass today, guys.
Well, did you see the video of him with DeChambeau at the first tee of
did.
the Old White?
I did, yeah.
Obviously, he's a gambler, and I think that for sometimes
That's part of the
for those-
golfing.
it's part of playing the game of golf, but I think a lot of those, you get a lot of athletes. Jordan is like an insane gambler who are very competitive, and that gives them a little bit of juice, right? It gives them a little rush.
Yeah.
John Daly famously won at what is now, I think they call it the TPC. It's the course that's right on Lake Merced. I don't know why I'm blanking on the name of it. I'd played it.
Give me the
back in
state.
day. It's in California, in the Bay Area. It's the one it's not Olympic Club. It's the public one that they made, Harding Park, maybe?
Yeah, I think that was it. There was a U.S. Open there a few years ago.
Yes. And he wins this tournament, goes to Vegas, and in like a half hour playing 5 hands of blackjack at a time for $5,000 a hand blows like $1 million, like everything he won.
Wild times.
That is, how do you even keep track of all that?
A billion is a B is a big. That's a big.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, our good buddy John Keim will join us, ESPN NFL Nation reporter on Washington. We will see that team on. There's a lot to get to on the Washington side of thing, and it's fun talking to John about it. We will do that coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Bo and Nathan with you here, brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Let's now go behind enemy lines, brought to you by the Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea Hotline, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. ESPN NFL Nation Commanders reporter John Keim joining us. John, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. Let's start off the field because it's, as we found out this morning, our conversation.
It's always off the field.
It's so fun off the field. Just paint this for me. You think about 20 years of this, and now you're free of it, and you have new ownership in Washington. From the fans' perspective, Cloud Nine, how do you explain it from their perspective?
Well, I think if you watch The Wizard of Oz, and when the Wicked Witch of the West was doused with water, and it was ding dong, the witch is dead. That's kind of how the feeling is among this fan base. And I would say this, having grown up in Cleveland, when LeBron came back, there was a feeling of hope again for the franchise, right? Like, hey, this could now happen. And I think there's an element of that for this fan base, that they had reached the point where they knew with Dan Snyder it was never going to happen. Like, the only way to have success was to kind of stumble or luck into it, to have sustained success. And the record proved it out. So now with Josh Harris, they feel like there's hope again for the future, that maybe you can, and not only that, like, win or lose, like, you can at least embrace the franchise again, that it won't be an embarrassment off the field as it had been under Snyder.
How do people feel about the fact that in many respects he's probably considered the worst owner ever?
Short list.
And he only made $5 billion in the tenure of his flailing ownership.
Yeah, and what the funny thing is, he's half of that's going to taxes. He's got $1 billion in debt at least, and then he's got to pay attorney fees. So, he'll only walk away with a couple billion. So
that makes me feel better. I think
it does make me feel better.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Of course. But the one thing is, like, people who knew him for a long time knew that this was his identity and that he had that stripped away. So while he's walking away with that money, he lost something very, very dear to him, and he's going to go down with a legacy of exactly like what you said, if not the worst owner, one of the worst owners in sports ever. And I say that, like, I lived through the Ted Stepien era. I know what Art Modell did there, and yet we're sitting here saying this guy might be the worst. But it was the all-around awfulness of it. Like, I've had former employees. One former employee came out to practice last week. First time he had been back there in 22 years.
Wow.
He had dealt with an awful lot in some parts, in a large part, or not all, but certainly part of it was what he had gone through there. He was going to come with someone else who had worked there for a long time. That person still felt like they couldn't come back because of all the mental scars they had, and this is something they went through 20-some years ago. So you hear story after this. So in addition to the on-field ineptitude or inconsistencies, bad, mediocre, whatever, it was all the other stuff that just made it a difficult franchise for fans to fully embrace. And when you treat people like that, it doesn't work well. Like, life isn't hard, man. Treat people well, and you usually end up doing a pretty good job. It's not that difficult, and it was for this guy. And people even now, people who joined the club recently, some of them would say, "Wow, I haven't seen that Dan Snyder." I'm like, "Well, everybody else has." But what they would also say is they would acknowledge that his biggest mistake was surrounding himself with bad people and then letting them have their say. But you're surrounding yourself with bad people. What does that make you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's certainly. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when he said that it was like his identity, it made me wonder if on the day that he walked out, even though he walked out with a lot of money, if he walked down towards the Potomac with his bodyguard right behind him and sat down
like
with some
Succession.
Exactly, like Kendall, right? Yeah, right. I mean,
what do I do now?
That was the takeaway of success. This was his identity. He doesn't care that he's doing fine. Maybe inside it's the same thing.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now he's overseas because, and see, here's the other thing. He can't come back here because this area just doesn't like him. And, he's got a wife, he's got kids, right?
Yeah.
So he's now overseas. He got citizenship in England. And, it's just, this is what he'll go down as. He could, and I don't know how many people are going to really want to do business with him in the future now. The money always helps.
Yep.
It always helps. But the reputation is so bad and all this stuff that's come out is so bad that it just makes you wonder, what does he do? Because you know, I mean, it's just I don't know. I guess you sit there and count your money and have fun. But
You could chill.
I know for him. I mean, right? That's not. Yeah, but I do know. Like I said, there are people back when all this first started 3 years ago. I talked to him like, "Do you think he'd ever sell?" Like, no way. He's too much tied up into who he is, and it just reached a point where there was really no choice for them. So, yeah, it's I mean, nobody should feel. No one should feel sorry for that guy. You feel sorry for the people who went through hell there. And this is also true. There's someone I talked to who worked here for a long time who told me, like, there was a psychiatrist in Ashburn where they train who said that half of his clients were former Redskin employees.
Jeez.
Man. That's just so
it was
hard.
bad, man. It was bad.
Yeah.
Even worse than I think. And
it is
we've
hard
all,
to hear.
We've all read all the reporting on it. It feels like it's even worse than all of the reporting is, and that's been catastrophic for the folks over there.
Yeah, and you could document it with many different people what their experience were, male or female, and that's who I feel like when all this went down. I would hear from some former employees, and the first thing he says, "I can go to a game again." I'm like, they're the people I'm really happy for, and the fan base too. But the people who work there, because like the Browns, it was a hallmark organization for the NFL, and it went, and look what it became. And it meant something to them to work for this place because of what this team meant for the NFL. I mean, but I mean, it was just, I mean, it was bad.
So Josh Harris, $6 million. He buys an iconic franchise, a brand at one point. Now the brand's kind of in a bunch of different places. It's been the football team and the Commanders. There's all that. But I would imagine job one is you got to get FedEx so it's a nice place and people want to go there. But then beyond that, you got to get a stadium situation done. So where are they with that now in terms of a stadium location or how to do it? What are their thinking? What is their thinking on it? Does it differ from Snyder's?
Not really, but turning FedEx into something nice is going to be damn near impossible.
Yeah.
It's more just like you just fix it so that way you don't have pipes leaking on people during games. It's a low bar, but they do have to invest money in that because the hard part for this area is that you're looking at 3 different locales, 2 different states and the District of Columbia. So you can look within an hour's radius, but it's 2 states and the district. So you're gonna look at the old RFK site. If I had to rank them right now, I'd put that 3rd on the list of where they're probably going to go. That's the emotional favorite. I think there's a lot of political stuff that they have to fight through, and then it's how much money can they get out of them? Is it going to be enough? That's going to be a big question. Then you have where they play now at FedEx, which is in Prince George's County in Maryland. So it's about an hour from where Baltimore plays. That's a possibility. They're renovating that area. The state is putting like $400 million into the surrounding area to build it up. And there's a lot of minority investment there. That's going to be a big deal for the franchise. Then you also have suburban Loudoun County, Virginia, one of if not the wealthiest county in the country, and it's where they train currently. So like that's another possibility. I just think that in Virginia it may be a little bit harder to come to a deal. I don't know. I mean, but is it so? All those sites are the same as what they were, but they are going back to the beginning with it because you have several people in this group: Josh Harris, Mitchell Rayos, Mark Ein. All 2 of those are limited partners, but they're all from D.C., so they all have strong ties here, and so they're going to see what they can get out of this. Chances are, it's a year at the earliest before we know where they're going to build, and in talking to people, it could be up to 2 years before we know. So it could be another 8 years before they open a new stadium. That's why they have to put a lot of money into FedEx. I mean, this is a tough investment for them for that reason. So there's a long way to go with that, and they're kind of starting over, even though people here know the groundwork of what there are people here who know, like, well, this is what Maryland would be comfortable with. This is what Virginia would be comfortable with. But this group has different ties, and so we'll see what happens. And then when in case of emergency, you break glass, and here comes Magic Johnson to maybe help close a deal. So because he's one of the limited partners. So, sure. But that's where they're at right now. So it's going to be a while before a new stadium gets opened here.
It's just such an
and then the
unbelievable
branding
triumph. The
too. Like
branding.
I think you'd want to watch that, but I'm sure there's a bunch of
Major
people
Tutty.
that want Redskins, and you can't go back to that. I mean, Red Hogs,
Sounds
Red
great.
Wolves. I love Red Hogs.
Red Hogs is great.
Red Hogs. Is there any momentum for any of those alliterations, John?
So as far as that goes, like the Red Wolves was a possibility last time. The problem is you have a college, Arkansas State, that is the Red Wolves, and then you have the Minnesota Timberwolves. So they were very concerned about the legalities of fighting that and how long it could be tied up in courts by one or both, and then what can you do with it after that? Because the trademarks and all that, I mean, it's an exhaustive process. It's more litigious than it was before. And so the fear was you're going to go through this process and it may not be able to get what they want, and now you got to start over. And it would have been an expensive fight. So that's how they end up pushing that aside, and it's why they end up on the Commanders, which is a name that very few have really embraced. Certainly, there's a loud, I don't know if it's a minority or majority, but it's a loud voice that does not like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they're going to change it, but they certainly are, if I had to bet, in a couple of years, I'll probably start looking at it if it remains an issue. So I don't think it's certainly not closed off to being changed again. And the funny thing is, as an Indians fan and having them watch them change the name to Guardians, and I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't like that still or won't embrace it still. But part of the reason why they really why they'd want to change this is because it reminds them of Dan Snyder.
That's right.
Whereas, when you're an Indians fan, like I'm watching the team, it's the same team you've watched. They look the same. Here, they changed the uniforms. It looked last year like more with the name, it looked and felt like more like an expansion franchise, even though they fought hard to portray like, hey, started and established in 1932, and they would go through all the history, and that's all legit. They haven't changed, but they made them look and feel different.
Yeah.
And whereas the Indians and the Guardians, it looks the same. And so you feel like you're rooting for the same franchise, whereas here it felt different. And so I think they'd want to go start anew and get pushed. But again, like if they go out the next couple of years and they win, and it's not inconceivable, like say in 2 years they start to become good, right? Because they have some young talent, and then they become good. You win, have a couple of years. Are people going to have the same appetite to change? You're going to say, hey, this is what you wanted. You wanted a winner. Here it is. So, but that remains to be seen. And short of that, then I think there's still going to be the momentum for fans to change it. And I think this group will at least listen and see if they need to go down that road.
Well, Bo and I we want the Red Hogs. Go back to the exact original uniforms, change the logo, put the R that was on the Joe Gibbs hat on the side of the helmet, and let's call it a day.
The R people would like that. Listen, when they were the football team, fans liked that because it looked the same. Or I couldn't say that. Fans got used to it, but the look of the team was the same. And I think that, that's important. Whereas you see them now, like they have one of their jerseys looks more like the Arizona Cardinal colors, like the burgundy feels different and the helmet looks different. So, but yeah, if you went to the R with, if it's the Red Hogs, or there was some momentum, there was some thought for that because the Hogs, but I don't think it went as far as what people maybe wanted it to. Yeah. But the other part with the Commanders is you can't shorten it. So it's like, well, do you call them
the commies?
Could you call them the Manders? Some people I hear say, "Oh, how are the Manders doing?" Like, come on.
I think it's commies, right?
You can call them the Guards.
Yeah, it's got to be commies. Unfortunately, it's a botch.
Well, I guess it depends on which power. It depends on which power has political power in Washington. If you go to commies, if that's going to play or not.
That's very, very true, John. In terms of what we'll see from the Washington team on Friday, let's finally get to it. It's so much more fun off the field. But hey, I'm curious about Sam Howell. How much will we see?
It hasn't been as much fun for a reporter off the field. How much? I think probably a couple series. They have a 2-day practice with the Ravens coming up early next week. That's a major point of emphasis for them. So I don't think they're going to sit there and play him too much tomorrow night. I know he's going to start. My guess is that they've played their starters about 2 series. The defensive guys might play less because they're much further along in their development. This same defensive group for 4 years essentially, and the same coaches. So there's continuity. Offensively, you have a coordinator in Eric Bieniemy. You have new starters at 4 line spots, and you have a young quarterback. You want to give them some work, but you don't, they want, can you work on the timing? Can you get this? And then get them out, because they don't want to, again, that practice is a big deal. If they're going to practice hard a couple days later, they don't want to exhaust, certainly go too far in a preseason game tomorrow night.
So you mentioned the new offensive coordinator, and apparently not everything can be kept on the field in Washington already.
Yeah,
what's going on with Eric Bieniemy yelling at players? And then coaches can be hard on players. We all know that. We see it. And it's one thing for them to go to the head coach. That probably happens at times. Hey, can you help me out? The fact that Ron Rivera decided to bring that into a press conference, I almost dropped my jaw a little bit. What did you make of that?
It was unusual. And it's all like players did go to him. And he told them to go to Bieniemy. So, but yes, it's unusual for a head coach to bring that out into the fore. And part of, he said it clumsily, but I know what he was trying to say, which is, hey, these players are going through a transition here, and they need to get used to it. And now they are. And look at how well we practiced this week. That's what he was trying to say, right? And I think if he had just kind of said like, hey, it's a transition. Guys are still getting comfortable with like the phrase is comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the big phrase this year. So like that's what he would have said. If he said like they're still getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, but they're starting to get it. In fact, after Tuesday's practice, he told Bieniemy like, I'm seeing it. They're seeing it. They're buying in, and he was all excited. And then he comes off the field and realizes that he had created a bit of a firestorm with his morning comments. So that's a lot of what he's trying to say. It's just that I think the way you say it has to, he even said he put his foot in his mouth and he had to be more clear with what he was trying to say. So, listen, Bieniemy is an intense, passionate coach. He is not just yelling at them. He's not Bobby Knight. He's intense and passionate. He's, if he'll be I'll tell you what, like this offense hasn't finished above 20th in points or yards since 2017. They need a kick in the butt, right? And so if you don't want someone yelling at you, friggin' produce on the field, and they haven't. So, but what he does is like if you're, for example, there have been times where if the offense isn't breaking huddle and getting up to the line fast enough, he's going to throw them off the field for that series, or he's going to get on them to get up there. He is constantly on them with the details of it. They need that. But I think like some of it is he doesn't. The other part is he knows one speed, man. He knows one speed, and he's going to go 100 miles an hour all day, every day. And I think that's where some players like is this going to burn us out? And I know like there's some guys like this is fine now. How is it going to play if you start off slow and you're struggling and you're not getting the results that you need? But they haven't gotten results in a long time, and it hasn't worked. You needed somebody to come in and change things. And so, but yeah, he's just an intense player. But he's also just as likely to be yelling like, he likes to drop, good bleep. Hey, that was great bleep, right? Fertilizer, right? And so, like all that. So like he's just as apt to do that as he is to really get on you, but it's the details. Like if you're running a screen and you're not at the right place, you're going to run it again. And, things like that. And like the urgency they have to get to the line of scrimmage with, they run a high volume of plays in practice. I have had guys like this is the best shape they've been in since they've been in the NFL because they're having to do so much volume in practice, a lot more running because of it. And so I think it's all of that is what it is. It's not just like, oh, he yells at us. It's just there's an intensity that does not I think that dude's drinking 5 Red Bulls in the morning and it just takes him through the whole day because that's just how he is, but he's like, it's not just yelling to yell. He's like, this is a team that hasn't produced in a long time.
Yeah. John, if you would have told me at the time of his drafting that a 5th-year option was not going to be picked up on Chase Young, I would have said you were nuts. Now there's been injury, so I understand it. The production hasn't been there either. He's dealt with a lot of stuff. How does he look now?
He looks good. So early on, especially, he ditched his brace. He had the brace on his knee at the end of the year. I'm going to go back to the end of last year. They pushed hard for him to come back because they kept telling me the doctors say your knee is fine. He had to get past it mentally to trust the knee. It wasn't just an ACL tear. It was a ruptured patellar tendon. It was a bad injury. So it took him a little bit to trust it, and then the more he played in the 3 games last year, the more you could see him start to trust it. And they wanted him to play so they could get rid of that part of it before this season. So, so that way he'd come into this season, he trusted it, he was ready to go, and that's what we're seeing. You see more of the get off the ball with him. What you don't know, it's hard to tell in practice though, like, are you going to finish, right?
Yep.
Are you? But he certainly looks like he's got that burst off the line. The key for him, and this is where he struggled that second year before the injury. So, at Ohio State, you get off the ball, you got these violent hands, and he doesn't have a lot of moves. That's not his strength. But he has, he can beat you inside, he can beat you outside, attack half the tackle, right? Attack a side and win that side. He was doing that as a rookie. As a second year, he would come off the line, get that burst, and then he'd stutter step. And the minute he'd do that, he would lose power in his hands, and he would get neutralized. And that became an issue for the coaches. Like, why are you doing that so often? And whenever he did, he was done. And he wouldn't get any push. When he would just maintain that power, he was much more effective. Not always getting there, but applying some pressure and helping out. So, but he's looked good, right? And Chase is always like, he and Montez Sweat, their other defensive end, are the 2 guys you want coming off the bus first because they just look unbelievable, right?
Yep.
But he's looked good off the ball, and we'll see how it translates in games.
We'll get you out of here on this one, John. Jacoby Brissett was great when he was here. Played very well, some of his best numbers of his career. Great human being as well. So, number 1, how is our guy Jacoby doing? And then 2, I read a report that he's going to start getting some first-team reps. Is this a competition still, or is it Sam Howell's job?
It's Sam Howell's job, and he got some first-team reps in practice. Part of it is they just want to get him familiar with some of these guys. This is still Howell's job to lose. As long as he goes out there and doesn't, crap the bed or whatever, then he's going to win the job because they like what his long-term potential is. But they do want Brissett ready, and it's a just in case. But some of it is like, in case he has to go in, you want some familiarity with these starters. And so the other day in practice was the first, like he had a walkthrough the other day where he went in with them for a little bit, or a jog through. And then the other day in practice, where it was legit practice, he went in for like a couple plays in one series. So it's not like they're alternating series or anything like that. But, I think he's a terrific pickup for them. And they tried to re-sign Taylor Heineke. I think Brissett is better. I think he's a true pro quarterback. And part of it is, too, he organized a trip to Florida before the season. He was telling some of the others there, like, this is what we're going to do. He was mentoring Sam Howell during this time. Like, he's been exactly what you would think he is. And and the other thing they know about him, if he has to play, he doesn't need as much time to get ready. Like, they have to give Howell all this time to get him ready, but to also see what is he capable of. So I think they know that if for some reason Howell, so like this game, the Ravens practice, the Ravens game are going to be key moments for Howell to see, like, okay, is he really where they hope and think he's at? And if not, then, then I think if he has a bad week, let's say, then I think you could start to see like, maybe. But right now it's his job to lose. And it's been that way since the spring. And I haven't seen anything in practice that would suggest that they need to go in a different direction right now.
John, you're the best, man. Thank you so much for your time. We love the conversation.
Always have fun, man. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, that's John Keim, ESPN NFL Nation Commanders reporter via the Twisted Tea hotline. Commies are here on Friday. MJ Emerson coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Belly Bet, sports betting partner, Cleveland Browns, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Daily, brought to you by Bally
9 minutes.
of your Cleveland Browns. Nathan Zgura alongside one of our favorites here on the show, Browns second-year cornerback MJ Emerson. And MJ, first of all, dude, great to see you. How the heck are you doing, man?
Doing good, just stacking days, day by day in this training camp and just trying to get better as a collective with our group and, just take it to the next level this year.
All right, before we get into the Greenbrier and the stuff you're doing on the field, you just did something pretty cool off the field. You guys gave helmets to a high school. I'm a football field away from that. You could hear them screaming the joy. How cool was that to be a part of?
Oh, man, that was cool, just to give back to the kids, and just watch them just be so, happy and blessed to receive those helmets. And hopefully, they win a lot of games with those helmets. So,
absolutely. Could you imagine if you were in high school and you came to an NFL team's facility and their 3-star cornerbacks, because in this case it was you, Greg, and Denzel, unveiled new helmets for you? Like, is it surreal to you that you're now the guy doing that for other people?
Yeah, man, that's a blessing, and that's just like me just thinking about it. Like, when I was growing up in high school, we had 2 speed flexes. The rest was just like, just regular helmets, not really like, the best quality, but we had 2 speed flexes. You had to be one of those guys, like one of the best guys on the team, like the top 2 to get one. And just to come back and, give those guys, brand new Zeniths, 85. 85 helmets, so that's just a blessing, and I know they're happy because I would have been so geeked up, to be in that position.
Did you earn one of those?
I was a speed flex guy, but it was just like the best option, but I really never liked speed flex that much, honestly.
What do you wear now?
F7. That's my kind. I like round helmets. Like, I love round helmets just for some reason.
All right, let's go to the Greenbrier. What was that like for you? First time, obviously, in the NFL where you kind of took a team trip like that. A lot of bonding, a lot of good work as well. What was that like for you?
Man, it was just a getaway for the team, everybody just to gel together and just kind of get to know each other, man, and the DBs was with each other almost 24/7, all the way up to bed check every day, and just, building that bond with the guys, and that's, that's the most important because, those are the guys we're going to war with come Sunday, so that was just fun. It was a fun experience.
What's the biggest difference in you right here today than if we were doing this interview a year ago? Getting ready to play, because you haven't played in a preseason game yet. This year you will Friday. Getting ready to play in that preseason game against the Jags. What's the biggest difference in you?
The biggest difference, just experience, and knowledge that I know now that I wish I would have known, when I was a rookie. But, that's a part of being a rookie. Sure. So I'm excited, man. I'm the same guy, honestly, for real. I'm the same guy, the same mentality. I just want to go out and put my best foot forward and just work hard for the team.
So I have a few little birdies who have told me that you are really becoming a leader even in your room, and you're playing with guys who are very accomplished, but that is just your mentality. You kind of have that dog and that leadership. Is that something you've always had?
Yes, sir. I never was a follower growing up. I always led by example, and I always brought guys along. And last year, I wouldn't say it was hard, but, I was a rookie, and it was kind of harder, just to be that leader that I always been my whole life and just try to bring everybody along when I was just like, only here for a couple months. So. But yeah, I'm just, getting back to myself in that leadership aspect, and that's exciting.
I want to take you back to week 5 of your rookie season, because I think this is where you took like a massive leap, and I think it affected everybody around in terms of being able to be that leader. And I'm sure you'll remember this. We were playing the Chargers, and at some point in that game, you're like, give me Mike Williams. You're like, give me 81. I got him. And then at the end of the game, on a 4th down play that they went for at midfield, you were one-on-one with Mike Williams. They went at you. You got the PBU. We got the ball back. Was that the moment for you that really kind of catapulted you to everything we saw over the rest of the season, and just kind of maybe even that leadership? Because to go up and stand there amongst your peers and be like, I'm good, I'm taking that, that's my guy now, and then to go out and back it up, was that like a big turning point for you?
Yeah, I would say so. Just proving, to my peers and to my coaches, and just, everybody that already believed in me, but just showing them that, I'm one of those guys that's willing and will get the number 1 receiver whenever you need me to. And yeah, that was just exciting. But I wouldn't say that was a turning point, because I always been that guy. Like, honestly, like, just that always been me. But it was just like, I just had to make, I just had to show it. I just had to make plays and just prove it,
Did you notice maybe you knew it was always there, that is exactly who you are, but did you notice your teammates after that point being like, oh, okay?
Oh, yeah, exactly. After that play, it was just like, yeah, we got us a young guy, that's competitive, and he want to be on the best receiver and just want to compete. So that was like, yeah, a blessing. I'm happy for that moment. Yeah,
it was a great moment. You finished the season, 15 pass breakups. We're going to get that first interception this year. I know you and Greg got a little competition. What are the stakes in that, or if you're able to share?
Stakes really is just just an item that one of us want, maybe a very expensive item. Okay. So, yeah, that's probably the stakes.
Okay, all right. Well, so we'll be paying attention to that certainly when we get going here early in this season. Let's talk about this work that you're getting against Deshaun, who in this offense, so much talent now, the addition of Elijah Moore. You've got Donovan Peoples-Jones. You got Amari. You had earlier in the offseason Marquise Goodwin. So you got different body types, different speed types, different route running types. How good has that work been for you, and how are you feeling right now?
Man, it's great work, because it's different body types. Each receiver, has something that they're very good at, and we just get to get that every practice. Amari with the great releases at practice. Elijah Moore with quick cuts out of his break. Just all of them, honestly. Mark Goodwin,
Yep.
I mean,
Can fly.
Yeah, can fly. So, I mean, yeah, it's just getting a lot of reps and just getting you prepared for the game for Sunday. So, I'm excited about that, and we go back and forth with those guys, and they talk a little smack, so that pushes even harder.
You guys are talking a lot of smack. When I was at the Greenbrier, I could tell the DB, especially because we were kind of like right on the field in those red zone drills, there was a lot of smack. You may have had a pick right there, may have been pick 6. Who's to say? Not me. What do you like? What do you like about kind of that you guys are battling like that, having that friendly banter, because you can tell it just elevates everybody's energy.
It just elevates us, and it just brings that the passion, and it brings out the competitiveness, with each other, because we're just making each other better. And on Sunday, it's just going to make it 10 times easier, because we're going hard every play, and we just, competing.
All right, Friday. Finally going to get on the field here against the Washington Commanders. What are you looking forward to the most? A team we saw last year at the end of the regular season, some very good receivers, Terry McLaurin, Dotson, guys who can run. What are you looking forward to about getting out there and getting a chance to compete again?
Man, I'm just ready to get out there with the guys and just, just get a feel for how it's going to be when the season starts, just compete and just have fun, honestly. That's what I'm looking forward to.
How was it to be on the sidelines for the Hall of Fame game? I got to talk to you guys, a couple of you guys before the game. I love how much you guys love the other guys in your room. You're like, oh, look out for Biggs, look out for Cam Mitchell. And then those guys go out there and get after and make some plays. How fun was that, kind of watching that and seeing those young guys go out there and know that, hey, I'm only in my second year, but it was cool to be in that position, right? It's a good position to be in where I just get to watch this week.
Nah, yeah, it was fun, man. It was fun just to kind of sit back and just watch our young boys get after it. And, they held their own. They made some plays, and they represented for our cornerback room pretty good, and I salute them for that. Honestly, I wanted to play for real. I was out there like, man, if I could just put my pads on, I'll go run a couple reps. But it was fun, man, to watch those guys get after it.
All right, so we've got the game on Friday, and I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit to the following week. Philadelphia. You got kind of a real, I would say, indoctrination in the NFL, those joint practices. I remember those a year ago, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and some good competition. I remember you had a nice PBU. You gave the big, no, sir, strap them up, let's go. How excited are you to kind of get that work going on? That was a team that went to the Super Bowl a year ago, and really maybe an opportunity to kind of measure where are we now versus where we were a year ago.
Exactly. I would just say that's just where we can measure ourselves and just actually see, how good we really are, honestly, because that's a championship contender, and that's a great team. And just go against those guys, we're going to bring the energy. I know they're going to bring the energy, so it's going to be really fun. So we'll really see what
30
into our last preseason game and getting ready for week 1.
I love your confidence. Speaking of week 1, how cool is it going to be to be in front of the fans, open the season at home, division game? It's all right there. It's all you want in that one right there.
Yeah, we can't wait for that one, man. That's just, the perfect way to start the season, man, and here in Cleveland in front of the fans, playing on the lake, and with that opponent, with the Bengals. I mean, we wouldn't want anybody else, so that's going to be pretty fun.
I love it. I feel the confidence just oozing out of you. I love it, man. I'm excited for you. Have a great year. Thanks for the time.
You're up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, good stuff from MJ.
I love
you.
him.
Yeah, hard not to like.
I love him.
Looks good out there in that. Yeah.
I think that he's a stud. I think that his mentality is the right way. I think you'd ask Brandon Lynch about him, and his face lights up. I think you ask other corners about him, their faces light up. You ask the receivers about him. They know how tough he is.
Oh, look at this gentleman.
Yeah.
Tequila. What a gentleman. He's
Chivalry's not dead.
Chivalry is not dead. Carrying a drink for the debutante.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, love it out of him. It's going to be hard to decide ultimately at some point in this season. There's going to be who are the two corners when there are two corners on the field? Because MJ Emerson,
when healthy, one of them's Denzel Ward because he's the best mirror Like, he's going to go to another level in this if he can stay healthy.
Yes.
Because this is who he is.
But Greg is great and MJ's great. I mean, it's going to be
Ward's probably the best mirror in the league, though.
He's great man corner.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm talking like just.
I know. I wasn't even talking
I'm not
about
talking
him.
about. Yeah, but I mean, like, him as he will, if he can stay healthy, you will see a side of him that consistently, like, I don't think we've seen here.
Which would be great.
Entirely, and he's been great.
Yeah.
But those other two, I mean, the other two, the thing is, there's going to be three of them all the time on the field. Like, you're going to play with three corners almost. How many teams in the league don't have three receivers?
Right.
It's so rare.
Very rare.
You know?
Yeah, you're going to have it. You'll have it. Week 1, you'll have it the whole game.
Yeah. All right, very good. Don't forget, Mailbag Thursday. Tweet us your questions, Browns_daily. We'll get to those. Bobby's on a fast start. He's on a heater already. There's a bunch. He's got
Bobby!
30. Hey, Bobby!
Hey, Bobby!
When a medical mistake causes your injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK Ohio. Elk and Oak's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Ben Bloom's availability coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And be part one of the most passionate fan base in the NFL. Join the Browns season ticket member waitlist today for the best chance securing tickets for all home games for future seasons. Don't miss out. Go to clevelandbrowns.com/tickets or call 440-891-5050 to reserve your spot today. And now let's head to the podium. Ben Bloom's availability.
Ben, I mean,
You're down.
guys like that who are missing time. Like, I know obviously this time is so valuable in the preseason. So what's most important for them when they, as they work towards coming back, I guess?
Yeah, I think what's important for them is to stay in it mentally, the best way possible. I've seen young players in the course of my career at this position, particular D end, miss a lot of time at the beginning of the season. I coached DeMarcus Lawrence his rookie year in Dallas when I was, D ends, assistant D line, whatever my title was at the moment. But he got hurt and missed the first whole 8 weeks of the season, was on short-term IR, and came back and played pretty well as a rookie. So, he was a tough dude, and he had a good spring, and he had a good training camp before he got hurt, and both Alex and IT have, so staying in it mentally, and I think, visualizing their techniques, that they have enough experience that they should be able to draw back on that experience. And when they come back, I expect them to be, ready to go, because I know they can.
Would you expect to use the same kind of deep rotation that Coach Schwartz talks about all the time, regardless of missing these two guys?
Yes, we're going to rotate guys. I mean, the tempo in which we play and how we run and how we compete, like we're gonna rotate players, and whoever's up for the game, we have all the confidence in the world that they can play in the game and rotate and play their role.
And then Isaiah McGuire, right? What have you seen from him so far? And then does it feel like this is an even greater opportunity for him to kind of step up?
Yeah, I appreciate using McGuire, because I call him McGuire and I call Isaiah Thomas IT, so that I don't confuse myself or them. But McGuire, first name Isaiah, yeah, I mean, he's done a really nice job. He's I think like any rookie, doing this for the first time, I think he's gotten better. Consistency with things like getting off the ball and closing the distance on offensive linemen, like that's getting better for him. His urgency with his pass rush moves and his physicality and his precision with his hands are getting better. He had moments in the first preseason game versus the Jets that didn't look very good, and then he had other moments that looked pretty good. So I think he's trending in the right direction. He's a smart guy. He works hard. He's very diligent in the meetings. He comes to work every day, and as long as he keeps improving, which he will, he's going to be fine. I'm excited about, what he's doing and where he's headed.
With Jordan Elliott, I know he's been getting a lot of first-team reps next to Dalvin, but what have you seen from him coming into this year, and how is he sort of improved?
A guy like Jordan, it's fun because I've been here for 4 years, and I've watched him just like grow as a person and as a player. Even though I wasn't his position coach, I was around him a lot, and he's just he's improved, he's grown, he's has leadership traits, the way he competes and how detailed he is and how he's accountable when things aren't perfect. Like he sets the tone for the whole group in a certain way. So he's got a lot of respect in the room, and he's a big man, and he's explosive and he's tough, and he's always working hard to get better, and he's coachable. So he's a type of player that you love to coach, and we're fortunate that he's here and he's a consistent dude every day.
Kevin talks a lot about Za'Darius. When we asked him about Za'Darius, he talks about the work and the work ethic he sees. How's that shown up for you? I mean, you're in the meeting and every drill with him. How do you see that show up?
Well, Za'Darius, for lack of a better term, he's like a blue-collar, hard-working, humble guy. I mean, he's a big name in the NFL. He's had a lot of career sacks. He's had multiple contracts, but I don't think that has allowed him to go far from his roots. I think he still identifies as the guy that didn't play a lot of high school football and had the basketball background, and had to go to JUCO to get offers, and then fourth round pick. So he's outperformed most people's expectations, not his own, but what you would expect from a guy with that background. So I think he holds on to that a lot. He knows why he's had a successful NFL career, and it has to do with his work ethic and his toughness, and he continues to do that every day. It's fun to see a guy like that, and it's really good for the room when you have a veteran who, handles himself that way around the younger players.
What has stood out to you?
Yeah.
Having guys out
first upon Alex Wright, Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Does that maybe test you in what you are able to do with the rotation? Is that an opportunity to see what these guys can do in a real game setting in terms of that rotation?
Yeah, I mean, my job is to coach all the players in the room, right? So whether they're rookies who are undrafted or second-year players who are drafted or guys that have made Pro Bowls and guys that have, had multiple contracts and have had a lot of success in this league, I got to coach all of them, get them all ready to play. My job is, to develop these guys, help them improve, and then ultimately when there's a game coming up, help them get ready for the game. So, it's exciting for me when guys get additional opportunities when the roster situation creates that, because it really it'll be revealing on how well are we coaching, how well are we preparing in practice when guys get an opportunity to play more. So it's an exciting thing for them and for me.
The defensive tackle room has a mix of experience levels, right?
Yeah.
For these young guys,
1 minute.
seen enough from them so far in training camp, or do you expect to see enough of them for them to have real opportunities this season? Can they take that leap and be ready to make an impact?
Short answer, yes. Yeah, these guys are improving every day. I need to remind myself that, we've had some padded practices here, and we've had one preseason game. Okay, so there's more work to be done before the season starts. And then once the season starts, it's not like
30.
improve during the season. We're supposed to improve during the season and get better as the year goes on. And, a lot of rookies, play better at the end of the year, in their rookie year, or in the middle of the year than they did in week 1 and week 2. So, yeah, like Siaki, like he's done enough and demonstrated enough that, shoot, we just keep getting better, we'll be just fine. But, we're going to have to keep working.
You're up.
Be fun to see all those guys on Friday night. Coming up next, it is a Thursday. It is the mailbag. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
You are.
Welcome back into the program. We talk just real quickly before we get into the mailbag. I'm seeing this on the social. Just broke on a show. This is not NFL, so don't get too excited about it.
Oh man, you got me.
Just broke on a show in Iowa that the Big Ten championship game will be played at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas in the near future, and potentially in Los Angeles in the near future as well. So this won't be a permanent move away from Indy, but guess what? They're going to start farming this out. Wouldn't it be nice if you could do it in the great state of Ohio?
And Bo, how would maybe that come about?
Dome! Let's go!
Let's go!
Vegas? Like, I get L.A. because USC and UCLA and the – but like –
Come on. The Big Ten is the Midwest.
Good Lord. I mean, it's unbelievable. Gene Smith stepping down yesterday, the athletic director at Ohio State.
Yeah.
So that was huge news. And he was he's one of the most powerful men in college athletics, and one of the reasons that USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten. So there's a lot going on still on that front, on the conference expansion front. Could be more stuff happening there, but you knew that would happen. We've talked about a lot in regard to the stadium here and whatever is done. Dome allows for that. It allows for the Big Ten championship game. It allows for college football playoff games. It allows for college football national championship. It allows for all of the things that Indy has gotten. You could have too. So I just thought that was noteworthy.
It is noteworthy. And it goes. We talked about it. I mean, that's one of the things we said. If a dome were to make its way here, that you would have the Big Ten championship. You probably have one Ohio State game a year. You'd probably,
for sure. You're going to get you would get a college football playoff game because those first games are on campus. So you get not only could you get, probably wouldn't get a Michigan one. That would probably happen in Detroit, obviously. But you would get an Ohio State one. It's possible you could get a Penn State playoff game.
Can't say it isn't.
In a dome.
Right.
So
novel concept.
And those events, as we were talking yesterday, those events like a Taylor Swift concert, it's not just about the ticket revenue, it's for the revenue of everybody who comes to the town, the money that's spent at the hotels, spent in the restaurants.
Oh my gosh.
Those are big booms.
Final Fours. Have you guys ever been to a Final Four, right, Gibby?
I have.
I mean, a Final Four starts on Wednesday.
Yep.
And goes until Tuesday morning.
You have the Fan Fest.
Yeah.
You
it's
got
a
everything else.
5-day deal that thousands upon thousands invade your town. I mean, it's Super Bowl's that way. College football national championship isn't quite that way because of the way they do it now. It's that way in the old days with the bowls, where it was like a vacation, but now they don't really do it that way. It's more like a playoff game kind of. But yeah, all those things, WrestleManias, all that,
worth a ton of money. We're talking like to an economy, it's like $100 million shot in the arm.
That's right. Yeah. You see like what Tennessee's doing, you go, geez, do that.
Boy,
copy that.
We didn't talk about that yesterday.
Well,
Let's talk about it.
They put the video imaging out again. Was it yesterday afternoon or
Yeah.
evening? I saw it this morning for the first time. I'd seen the still images of that thing before, but I'd never seen like the fly-throughs and stuff. That's going to be unbelievable.
So that's similar to SoFi in the fact that it's not high off the ground; it is deep in the ground.
Yeah, they dug it down. Yeah, that thing's going to be unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, not too shabby. That town.
No,
I feel like that town's going to eclipse Vegas here sooner rather than later.
I think it's already there, quite honestly. I know it's already there from a housing perspective.
Correct.
Like Vegas, the desert's big. There's not that. It's hills, man. Nashville's hard to continue to carve out places to live.
Yes.
Yeah, no question. Time for a little mailbag Thursday. Tweet us your questions at Browns_Daily.
Oh, I should say that it's presented by Cross Country Mortgage, official mortgage partner of your Cleveland Browns when it comes to financing. We always get you home. Visit ccm.com today. Equal housing opportunity, NMLS 3029.
Wonderful.
Bang. Give it.
Brad Howard, what Hall of Fame would you two be inducted into? For example, Gibby would be in the Alcohol Consumption Hall of Fame. I'm not so sure about that given the events of last Saturday night. I feel like there's a few people that would get in well ahead of me.
I think you're probably true.
Based on what I watched.
Yeah, that made you like reassess where you were as a drinker. I was telling a story the other day about my childhood buddy Mark Serby's dad, Big Lou, and one day we were there, and my good friend Vince Condi, friend of the show, was
the guy that can't make a basketball shot.
The waffle. The waff. He can make a basketball shot, but not that day.
Not that day.
Not that day.
I know he's listening, yelling at me.
He probably is. So one day we were there, like, I think we'd all come back from, like, college, and we're over at Big Lou's house, and we're hanging out, drinking or whatever, and, you know, like, at that age, like, somebody make a comment, like, Vince was like, dude, you know, like, I'm wasted. I've had, like, 7 blah, blah, blahs, you know, yeah. Big Lou looks at him dead in the eye, and he goes, drinkers never count, and counters never drink.
That's a great line.
There you go. There's your life lesson of the day.
The amateur party's down the street.
Wow.
I mean,
Hit the bricks, boys.
And said, like, dead serious. Like, dead serious.
That's nice. I like that.
I used to bring a Mad Dog 2020 whenever I went over to Big
Oh,
Lou's
my
house
God.
as, like, an offering.
Here, sir.
What flavor?
Loved it.
Please have a.
He liked the orange.
Woo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
We
that-
do that.
God.
And
The
then
orange or
many
the
a
blue?
night, Big Lou was a vet, and many a night at Big Lou's would end with all the lights out and him watching Apocalypse Now.
Jeez. Oh my God.
And he'd invite you to sit down.
Just some light
and
movie.
you-
Just a little light feel-good
A
movie.
little lighthearted.
A little nice flick to put you in a good mood before bedtime.
Big Lou.
Can I interest you in?
Do you guys know what Apocalypse Now is?
With a mad
Do
dog.
either one of you know?
Oh my God, Francis Ford Coppola
Nope.
is epic. That's one of my
They
favorite
have
films.
no idea.
Yeah, but it's a full day.
Dude.
Like,
Yeah, with a lot of
it's
reality.
not vacation.
Larry Fishburne's debut. Credited as Larry.
As Larry.
Yeah, remember he was on the back of the boat with the gun.
Oh,
The
that's
youngins
right.
have never experienced it.
There too, yeah. I mean, it is a classic.
Well, it's also
Marlon
one of those things like
Brando.
you're signing up for it. It's long,
like
right?
It's
3
very
hours.
long.
Yeah, like in this Scorsese, Coppola, like in that
Yes.
era, everything was 3 hours. It was big bombs.
And then you can, after you watch it, Uno, then you watch Heart of Darkness, which is like a movie about the making of.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Heavy.
Harrison Ford,
Nah,
Martin
don't do that.
Sheen.
Harrison Ford's in Apocalypse Now?
Yeah, he's like just a very minor
Very
role.
small role. I have not seen it in probably 25 years. I've only
He
seen it
is.
once.
I better have this right, or this is gonna piss me off. He's like a
Martin
at the base
Sheen,
home. He's just
Duvall.
in the base as like a young like officer at the base.
Yeah. Sheen, Duvall, Brando.
Yep. Duvall. Oh my God.
Duvall's
smells like
amazing in
victory.
that. Yeah. Pretty good early.
Yeah,
resume.
he was in it.
So would you guys be in a Hall of Fame? Is there a Hall of Fame that you'd be in?
I think we're in the Hall of Fame of Men About Town.
Yes, of just big B's
Yeah, I think,
dudes.
yeah.
Didn't we have statues that said we're like great men somewhere?
yeah, there is.
You do. There are statues
What does that
maybe on
say?
the other side.
Gentleman's Hall of Fame or something?
Yeah.
Greatest Gentleman Hall of
Yeah.
Fame?
Harrison
Yeah.
Ford, he was Colonel Lucas.
Got it from our good friend Marty. Marty Fox. Shout out, buddy.
Good job out of you, Marty.
Silent Night. Aside from Joe Thomas, who would you bring back from a former team and add to this current Browns team?
Oh, real quick one
Yeah,
aside.
nope.
One time, we were it was a Jaeger fest, and we're
This
all
is why we
together,
only get to 2
and
mailbag
we're
questions a segment.
Okay, we did a double header. This is one of my favorite memories.
Okay.
I want to say I turned 30 maybe is when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
We do a double feature. We're down the basement. The first part of the double feature is going to be serious. It's Apocalypse Now. The second part was like one of the Jackass movies.
Okay.
So opposite end of the spectrum.
Yep.
So we go. This is at my cousin Dave's house. It's not even my house. I put the DVD in because like nobody was really like knew what to do with the. I put the DVD in. I don't touch anything. We start playing it. The opening line is Saigon, and then the word for SHIT in French. So
Yep.
somehow it was in the French dub, and Zago goes, Nate! Starts screaming at me that it's in French. Like, how could you do this? Like,
What have I done?
and
What'd
then
I
there
do?
was, and then by the end I jackassed.
I
him.
don't think you could
insisted
spell
he-
that out either.
No,
I don't know if you can either. I
Yeah,
feel like
you
that's
should have
shy,
dumped
but-
that, Paulus, if you.
Well, it's
Dump
too
it.
late now.
It's too late now.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah, you can't spell that out. It's still like saying it.
I think it would have been gone, Gibby, and then you brought like I
Yeah,
think
you
the
put a real
act.
spotlight on
I
it.
noticed the act, but then I think you extra spotlighted the act.
Yeah,
I
thanks
think
a
it
lot,
would have been
Gibby.
gone to Pluto, gone. But I no for future reference, I don't think you
No.
can either.
Okay.
Now you know.
Could you
I
say
mean-
it in a different language?
No.
So that's why I stepped away from that.
I guess as long as nobody would know, I guess as we have some in our
No
audience who
is
can
the
speak-
answer.
Speak
Yeah.
French.
Some.
My
Not
kid,
as much anymore.
My kid,
I did.
quite fluent.
Yeah.
I am. When I was in high school, I
They
took
don't
French
push you
because
much.
at that point it was the international language of business. Believe it or not,
We could
it is now.
and of love.
Yeah.
You could pick Spanish or French.
Same. I went
Yeah.
French, which useless. Spanish, it turns out.
I do remind my
much more
child
useful.
of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
unless you're
Now
planning
you
on
can
going to
learn-
live over there.
Now, like my kids, it's Spanish. I don't even know if you can do French. I think it's like Spanish and Chinese.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mandarin. Yeah.
What was that? Okay, former player. any
Aside from
former
Joe
player.
Thomas, who would you bring back from a former team and add to this current Browns team?
I mean,
Like at the peak of their powers.
Apex Josh Gordon would be hard to say no to.
Yes.
Like,
I could go with a little Michael Dean Perry.
I thought about him
On the
too, but then
defensive
we
line.
just added Harris,
I
so
wouldn't
like
mind
that
it.
room's nice, but like
Michael Dean Perry. Peak of
He
his
would be a
powers,
great one.
Josh Gordon is like the
Unstoppable.
leading receiver in the NFL. Yeah.
he would
the
have been
best wide receiver.
yeah, with
It's an
this
arms
with,
race.
with Watson,
Yeah.
that's the one that jumps out.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Roman soldiers. Has Nathan Zegura ever been on one of my party buses that Mike the Miz used to rent every Wednesday night before Thanksgiving? Hashtag epic. If not, ask him about them. Oh,
Of course, Mizfest. I was on the buses.
yeah.
Yes.
And your bus came to the VIP.
We've been to the VIP.
Been to the VIP
Many
the night
times.
before Thanksgiving.
That's right.
To join me.
Yeah, Mizfest. Sad now he's got kids. He wouldn't understand. He can't do those
Can't
things
do it
anymore.
anymore, yeah.
So anyways, that's
All
his big
changed.
line on our whenever he loses in fantasy football. He's like, well, I got 2 kids. You wouldn't understand. Most of the people only have at least 1, if not
Right.
2, or some in cases
Yeah.
more
Right.
kids. But
Yeah.
that's his line.
That's his
Yeah,
line.
I can't do Mizfest. I have 2 kids. You wouldn't understand.
That's a good line.
Like, well, I've only had 2 kids for
A long time. We're good.
13 plus years now.
H. Snyder, what is your drink of choice after a Browns victory?
In
Depends on the time of year.
In the words of the great band UB40, red wine.
Great song.
Great song.
That's a banger.
They have a lot of hits by the way.
They do. Yeah, they do.
They do.
They've got. That's a good one. I haven't heard that in a long
Fill
time.
My Cup. Great song.
Yeah.
Casey K. Good afternoon, Big B's and Gibby. Give me your Mount Rushmore of best supporting acting roles. Mine, Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday, Goodman and Walter Sobchak, Bale, Dickie Eklund, and Ledger Joker. I
Okay.
feel
You
like
make an
he's-
argument Ledger's almost like the
That's the
starring. I know he
main-
won Best Supporting Actor for that, but that's kind of like the starring role.
yeah.
in
Let me
that.
just say that was on the Mount Rushmore of ways to open up a question to us on the mailbag.
No problem with that statement.
why
out
I
of you
read
at all.
that.
Yeah, that was the
no,
correct
that
way
was-
to answer it.
that-
It's a good job at
So
it.
him, supporting actor in this
Yeah,
thing that we're
yeah.
doing, you get that. I like Sobchak's a great one. Leon Black from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
God.
I mean,
so
Leon's
good.
is-
Have you guys seen Curb Your Enthusiasm? That's a fine.
Oh man,
Both of you.
Ouch.
Both of you.
We hear that trading has been halted on the Uno. It's a
God.
massive sell-off just happened.
Good Lord.
Let's everybody get their feet back together.
Oh my God!
And then
he just turned
I
into
think-
Alibaba.
I think for them, they should know. I mean, supporting actor Vince Vaughn in Wedding Crashers, I consider him the supporting actor too. I mean,
I don't know. That feels like.
Owen Wilson's the star.
Are we
No,
sure? I think
no.
That feels like a Vaughn vehicle to me.
You think?
Yeah.
I think it's a Vaughn
The
vehicle.
real
I think-
love interest, the time that's devoted to true love and all that is all.
Are you
Owen
sure that
Wilson
the
and
true
McAdams.
that true love isn't the other?
Well, it wasn't.
Feels like because Vaughn actually marries the other.
Yeah.
Like that's
does.
There's quite a bit of time spent on that.
Old School.
I think that's
What's his face?
well, that's Farrell or Vaughn in Old School or
Farrell
both.
and Old Schools.
Yeah.
Is he a lead or is he a supporting?
Oh, Farrell's definitely supporting in Old School.
Luke
That's
Wilson
Luke
is
Wilson.
technically the
he's
lead.
the lead,
Yeah.
but I mean he's a zip.
Not.
But I mean,
It's like Hangover.
Zip's hard.
not much.
All right.
I mean,
wanna
Kilmer
call-
in Tombstone is he should have won the Academy Award for Tombstone.
Yes.
He's unbelievable in that. That's a good one. Sobchak also very, very good.
What about I can't think of any movie.
Ben Gazzara as Brad Wesley in Roadhouse.
Oh,
Oh man. Oh baby.
Fantastic.
great.
Brought
Great
JC
villain.
Penny.
Great villain.
I got one
Penny
for
to
you.
town.
Wilt Chamberlain and as the sidekick in Conan the Destroyer. Wilt Chamberlain's pretty great. All right, hold on. Why can't I think of the movie? What's the one with Jonah Hill and it's obviously a DiCaprio?
Superbad.
No,
Not
with
Superbad.
DiCaprio.
Oh, Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. Matthew McConaughey in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, that's a great.
It's more of a cameo, Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
But it is incredible.
It's a hell
Jonah
of a-
Hill's on a heater in that too.
By the way, speaking of other great cameos, Matt Damon in Euro Trip.
Yeah,
Yes.
you love that one. That's a good one.
Scotty doesn't know.
Scotty doesn't know,
It's one of the
man.
most. When you think about the gravitas of Matt Damon and the fact that he shows up at that movie
Yeah.
I
to
love
sing
Euro Trip.
Scotty doesn't know.
Stifler.
Is stunning.
Stifler could make a case.
Stifler and American Pie is pretty good.
Yep.
A lot of
He's in
those.
Euro
Well,
Trip.
That whole family, the whole
Yeah.
Stifler family is pretty dynamite there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Richie, who's a controversial athlete that you'd like to see a documentary on? I know how to talk.
Well,
Has there ever been like a full-on everybody involved in it? And I feel like the answer might be yes, and then shame on me for not watching it, on Mike Tyson. Like,
There's
whole
been
deal.
something, but not everything.
and I want a full John Daly because I was a big John Daly guy. Like, I want a
Yeah.
full John Daly experience.
yeah, I think the accounting of the Tyson real truth
Would be.
the life. I mean, from the Given stuff all the way through would be pretty crazy. I
Given
mean, the man
stuff
was
is
in
bad.
prison for 2 years. Like, he was in prison. Like, there was a lot on that. I think an unfiltered real truth on Tiger Woods would be pretty amazing if you got it. You know,
That will be on HBO Max.
for sure. But the, I mean, that's a lot going on. That's a lot going on.
All right, rapid fire time. The Spaz, how do we score one of those Hoff-approved black and white trucker hats? Great question.
I don't know where he got that.
I don't know
it's
either.
It's cool.
It is cool.
Is it black and white or is it brown, like dark brown and white? I couldn't tell. I mean, I saw him in it.
I
but
think it
couldn't
was
tell.
black.
Black.
I think it was
okay.
black.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's the Stiffy elf, right?
Bobby time. If you knew it was your last day on Earth, what would you make sure to do?
Hang with my family.
I don't know if I can answer.
Everybody I know that I love, get around.
Get them
me
in.
And let's
Get in the mix.
have a
Yep.
prime rib and
Let's live, damn it.
let's watch.
What would you change about your childhood?
My dad.
I believe that's 2 for 2.
The yolk.
Where's a moment that you knew you made your parents proud?
According to him, never.
I think we're going 2 for 2 on this.
No. I feel like my dad got a little when I got to get into the booth last year. My dad got like a little emotional.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
What's your favorite smell?
Can't. We've already spelled a word. We're good.
We gotta bring it back.
Would you rather live by the beach or up in the mountains?
I'm a mountain. I like mountains with a view.
Yeah, the problem is like up in the mountains that's pretty isolating too. I feel like with a beach, I'm always going to be in a pretty good spot, so I'll roll with the beach.
If you were elected president, what would be your first act?
Good. Too heavy, Bobby.
Yep.
Too heavy at this hour.
Pass.
Pass.
What's the first thing you notice when you meet a person?
Yeah.
Yep, we're going on.
Pass.
If you could
They're
travel,
like got it together.
if you could travel back in time to any historical event, which would it be? We're a little gun shy after Zagura spelling out words.
Any historical event?
If you could travel back in time to any historical event, which would it be? We have about 30 seconds.
I mean, I think I'd thrive in the 50s and
Well,
the
yeah,
60s.
we wanna be in Mad Men.
I want
We
to be
already know
Mad
that.
Men. I
Yeah.
think that would be great.
Yeah. But like to actually witness an event,
Oh, like to witness it?
like I think it would be amazing to like.
Probably like the wonderment of the time you land on the moon would be crazy to witness that in
If
real
we were
person.
there, if we were on the moon.
Or even if you were just like the thing goes up and it stays up and you're like, hey, we've done it. Like there isn't anything like that anymore that we point out there of,
Yeah.
it feels untouchable.
Yeah.
Most of the historical things are heavy.
Yeah, like wars. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to think. Like, do I want to see this or?
Not really.
Yeah. You haven't seen Indiana Jones yet? Like, it's kind of cool what Indiana Jones shows up.
I have
to.
not seen that yet. I mean, like it'd be cool to like end of
Like
World War II,
Cleopatra or
like
whatever.
with the, they're storming Eagle's Nest after Hitler surrenders. That's got to be pretty cool to be bouncing around that with Easy Company. I'd do that.
Something about like the Revolutionary War when we like finally
When it's
get
win,
it done.
when it's a
Yeah.
dub.
Yeah, it's a dub.
Stacking dubs.
Yeah.
All right. So much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Game day tomorrow. We knew this stuff would all stack.
Yeah,
go
it's
quick,
good.
brother.
So it's gonna go. Now it's gonna go quick again. This week I felt this felt like a long week
We
to
were
me.
just still living in the glow of Hoff.
Yeah.
The Hoffness got us through the whole beginning of the week.
It sure did. Well, and I think we also were a little sluggish coming out of the Hoffness.
No doubt. No doubt.
But then we got game tomorrow night, and then Sunday we'll head to Philly, and then 2 joint practices, light day Wednesday, game Thursday night. Then we're back, and then the following Saturday at Kansas City, final tune-up, and then
That'll be long.
Baby.
From Thursday to Saturday, it'll be long.
Yeah,
That'll be a little long.
yeah, a lot of open practices there. I think there's 4 more to go.
All right, the next level's next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.
Yes.